Welcome back. In this session, we're going to take a look at Dreamweaver Creative Cloud 2015. Dreamweaver, if you're unaware, is simply an Adobe program that helps us write code. If you've used programs like Notepad++ or Text Wrangler before, it can be a lot like that because there is a code view to that, but it also has a lot of drop-down menus. If you don't understand code, Dreamweaver doesn't help much. If you understand the concepts of divs, so you can use a menu to insert a div tag, for example, or you can use a menu to insert an image tag. However, it doesn't do a great job if you don't understand that theory. So if you understand code, Dreamweaver can be great. It really helps with syntax and things like missing semicolons and equal signs and things like that. Oftentimes we make mistakes as beginners especially, but Dreamweaver is great for things like that. So to start, we'll just go to File, New. And our choices here, there's so many choices, as with any Adobe program. It's all about choices. But we're going to stick with our standard HTML. And I'll hit Create. And really for this process, I want to go through a few of the basics. And then when we save, there's a very specific way that we'll save here in a little bit. So notice I'm not going to save first. I'm going to actually show you a few things. First and foremost, there are two buttons up here, Code and Split. If you click on Code, it'll show you all of the source code that's been written for you already. It should look very familiar to you. This is stuff that hopefully you've seen before. But in this case, it's great to know that it's already written code, even though I really haven't even started yet. If we click on Split View, it'll show us sort of like a half design view and half code. And that's one good way to sort of look at the code so you can see how one thing is reacting to the other. Next to that is a live button. And I'm not a huge fan of the live button simply because the purpose of the live button is to make your design view look like it would in a browser. Now, if you're wondering, isn't that what Dreamweaver is supposed to do anyways? Technically, yes. But oftentimes, your layouts will look really, really messy in this Dreamweaver design window. And when you look actually at the in a real browser, it'll look fine. So messy in Dreamweaver, but fine in a browser. So live is simply a way for it to attempt to show us what it'll look like in a browser. Which browser? The jury's out on that. Most notably, Chrome and Firefox generally act about alike. So not Internet Explorer, I guess is the right answer for that. So we've got choices here on how we can look at this. Code, Split, Design View, and Live is also a choice there as well. Now please note, Live in itself is a toggle switch. So if you have Live turned on, I can't really do anything down here. I can't type, I can't do much of anything. So we want to make sure that we toggle Live back to design when we're not needing to see live view. Personally, I'd say just avoid live view altogether and actually look at it in a real browser. That's what really matters, is what it looks like in a browser versus Dreamweaver. So Code and Split button up here are two view options, and then Design is kind of grouped in here with Live. So I'll stick with Design View for the most part today. A few things to point out. As far as the interface of Dreamweaver goes, this is our document window. This overall is where our site is going to be created. Notice there's no toolbar like an Adobe program, most Adobe programs. There are panel sets over here, but they're not probably ones you're used to. There are no layers, there are no color palettes or anything like that. They're very specific to Dreamweaver. On the bottom of the screen, we have this Properties bar, and the official name for this is Property Inspector, and this is really where a lot of questions get answered. If you've got a question, a good place to look is right down here. The reason being, when you're working on text, this will show you text properties. When you're working on images, this will show you image properties. When you're working with divs, this will show you div properties. This changes according to what you're working with. So this is a great place to look when you've got questions. Now before we even begin, I see down here that it says Untitled Document. I would like to go ahead and add a title. This is my title tag. So I'll say Dreamweaver Demo. And if I want to go glance at my code view, you'll see that the title tag now says Dreamweaver Demo. So this is where our title tag's at. In previous versions of Dreamweaver, that title is right up here, but now it's down here on the bottom with 2015's version. So if I start to type, if I say, this is my website, I hope you like it, it just creates basic text. This goes in my body tag, just like it normally would if I were to code this. And if I hit the Enter key, you'll notice that it drops down 2 lines. An Enter key is actually a shortcut for a paragraph tag. Every time you hit the Enter key, it'll add in a paragraph. So on code view, I can confirm that every time I hit Enter, it puts that line of text inside of a paragraph tag, which is good. It's good to know that that's our first shortcut. Shift Enter on your keyboard will create a line break. And if you know your HTML, you'll recall that a line break is the BR tag. BR for break. And we've got that right there in between. This is a paragraph, and Shift Enter makes a line break. When I look back at my design, this is a paragraph, line break, Shift Enter makes a line break. So our first 2 keyboard shortcuts are Enter for a paragraph tag and Shift Enter for a line break. Now if you glance down to the bottom of the screen, you'll also see that there's a few text options. First, if you highlight a line of text, the first option I want to look at is Format, and it says Paragraph. And our choices there are Paragraph, Heading 1 through Heading 6, which are our H1 through H6 tags. And if you highlight one of those, it'll change that text to a heading tag. And there's also pre-formatted, which is essentially no formatting whatsoever, with no CSS, and you really don't want that. So generally a paragraph or a heading is what we're looking for. I'm not going to worry about ID for now, but class is also over here. We know that classes are parts of CSS rules, or types of CSS rules, so this is going to be a CSS option a little bit later for us. Not in this session, however. Lastly, we've got link, which this is just an amazing, amazing option, especially for those of you that aren't getting along so well with the anchor tags. The link option down here will allow us to simply highlight some text and make it into a link. So if I typed, I like Google, I want the word Google to be a link. I can highlight that, come down here to link, and type in Google's web address. Now please note, it must start with http://. Otherwise, it doesn't find the website. It doesn't actually go out to the web. It's actually looking in your root folder for something called google.com. But http:// google.com. You can either hit enter or simply click off of this, and you'll then see that it highlights like a link. So I can glance back at code view and confirm that it does put in an anchor tag, which is a great option here for us, that we don't have to do any of that code. If we take a look, I'm going to make my window a bit larger here. If we take a look over here throughout the rest of the properties panel, we've also got target. And target is when we can allow a website or a page to open in its own tab. So if we're going to an external website like Google, we would want to put target blank, target underscore blank, so that it will then open on its own tab. And we'll test this out momentarily after we get done saving things. Other than that, on this properties inspector down here, other things you might be interested in, you've got unordered and ordered list over here. So I could highlight everything and put it in a list by clicking this, what looks like a bullet point icon. I can also do the ordered list, which is the same concept, but it puts numbers instead of bullet points. These are, they're called block quotes, but it's essentially indent and outdent, and we generally only use those if we're trying to show a quote of someone that it kind of indents it for us and makes it look like a quote in the middle of our text. Beyond that, we don't want to use block quotes for spacing. Instead, we want margins and padding with CSS. So you probably won't use these buttons here much. Bold and italics, those are options also. We have to use these sparingly though, because the bold and italic options here do create HTML tags that do have a little bit of SEO implication. So, for example, if we put something that is bolded, our search engines note that that's a little bit more important than other text, and they rank you a little bit higher based on that. So if you're just wanting the visual representation to make something bold, you'll more than likely want to do that with CSS also. So really, the big choices here, format, class, which we'll learn a little bit later, and link. And if you do an external link, you'll also want target. These other options are just kind of optional. So now I'm ready to go ahead and save this. So I'm going to bring my window back in so we can see everything that's going on. And in order to save this, we have to be very, very, very careful. Because Dreamweaver is a software application, it's not just a code editor. It does its best to try to help us manage our files. And we know that root folders are incredibly important when it comes to web design. If you don't save your files appropriately, things are not going to work. Okay, plain and simple. Web design, it is vital in web design that you be organized and you have things in folders. And the folks at Adobe understand that. So before we save anything in Dreamweaver, it's important that we establish a root folder, and we have to tell Dreamweaver where that root folder is. If you don't do this, Dreamweaver is going to try to determine what your root folder is, and it's going to start moving files, and it's going to cause some headaches for you. So it's, from my personal experience and my own personal mistakes, take my word for it, you really, really want to set up a root folder first. So here's how we do that. We'll go up here to the Files panel. It's normally in the upper right-hand corner of Dreamweaver in the last few versions. If you don't see a Files panel, you can go to Window and Files or hit F8 on your keyboard. And you'll notice this Files panel, it's essentially a list of all the files in your root folder. And it's a list of your root folders. So let's say that I've got 7 different website clients that I'm working with. Ultimately, all 7 of my clients will be listed up here, and I'll be able to see all 7 of their root folders. I could click on any root folder, and it'll show me all the websites, or all the web pages, and CSS files and images that are in those root folders. So essentially, this Files panel is a list of all of our websites. Now, in order for us to see those websites listed, we have to tell Dreamweaver, here's our site, and here's where it's located. Here's the root folder. So the first step in this process is to hit Manage Sites. Now, please note, once you do this the first time, Manage Sites will no longer be listed here. It'll be listed right down here at the bottom of this drop-down menu. So Manage Sites, whether you click it here or here, and then we need to click New Site. Now, there's 2 options here that we need to fill in. First is site name, and this isn't that important. All this is what Dreamweaver will list our site as. Our site name doesn't go in our code. It doesn't name our folder or our files. It's simply going to appear back in the Files panel in Dreamweaver that lets us know this is the site that we're looking at. If you want to put client A or client B or a client that I don't even like, no one will see it but you and whoever's using your version of Dreamweaver here. So we're going to be strategic about this. We're just going to say Dreamweaver demo. And the important part is that here under local site folder, we point it to our root folder. Now, if you don't have one, this is when you would make one. And that's what I'm going to do in this process here. So I'm going to click the Browse button out here at the right. I'm going to make a root folder on my desktop. So I'll go to my desktop. I'm going to make a new folder called DW Demo. And I'll go ahead and hit Select Folder, Save, and Done. So those steps, if you're writing these down, Manage Sites, New Site, type in a site name, browse to find your site folder if you have one. If you don't, browse to the place where you're going to make one and hit select, save, and done. Now Dreamweaver knows where our root folder is. It knows how to save files, or how to save things and how to link things because it's established our point of origin. If we look up here, now on this drop-down menu it says Dreamweaver Demo. That's a list of my files and my network drives here. So anytime I want to see any of my root folders, they'll be listed right up here. Now I don't have anything in it yet, so I don't see any files, but that's about to change. Let's go ahead and save this file. Let's go to File, Save As. It knows to look in my root folder because that's what we've been telling it to do. So it looks for that root folder, and I'm simply going to save this as index.html. If you don't put an extension on the end of it, it'll save it as a .htm. So make sure if you want it saved as an HTML, you literally type .html at the end. So I'm saving index.html, and I'll hit save. Now that we've got things saved, we should be able to look at this in a real browser. Now we don't have much to look at yet, but we can at least see if our link to Google will work. To preview this in a browser, there's a little Earth icon right down here towards the bottom right of your main panel. And when we click on that, we can preview it in any of the browsers we have installed, or you can hit F12 on your keyboard to open the default browser on your computer. My default browser is Internet Explorer on this particular machine. I would prefer Chrome or Firefox. So I'm going to hit the planet icon. I'm going to hit preview in Google Chrome. It opens up Chrome. I can click on Google. It opens google.com in its own tab, so it appears as if things worked fine. So all is well. I'm going to go ahead and, well, I've already saved that. Anytime you preview it in a browser, you'll need to save it before that. Otherwise, it'll come up with an error message and say, hey, you haven't saved this. Would you like to do that before you preview? And normally we'll say yes. The last thing I really want to look at here for the basics is to how to insert an image. And it's really simple as far as Dreamweaver goes. But just like with code theory, we have to make sure that we have an image saved to our root folder. So I'm going to go back out to the web. To keep things simple, I'm just literally going to save Google's logo. And I'm going to save it right into my root folder on my desktop. So here's my desktop. Here's my Dreamweaver demo. And I'm just going to click Save. So now I've got an image in my root folder. Once the image is there, it's saved, I can hit Enter on my keyboard to give myself a new paragraph, a place to put the image. And I'll be able to insert the image by going to the Insert panel. It's grouped normally with the Files panel on the upper right. If you don't see an Insert panel, go to Window and Insert, and it'll show up. And with this Insert panel, this is how we're going to insert lots of HTML tags. And there's lots and lots of choices here. Adobe is all about choices. Just under the word Insert, there's also a drop-down menu. And with this current version, HTML is an option there. In previous versions, including 2014, Creative Cloud 2014, Insert, it said Common here, Common or Structure. And with 2015, they changed that to HTML. So just a note about that. Under HTML, I see image. It goes to my root folder because it knows where my root folder is at because of that files process. So I'll go ahead and click on the logo, hit OK, and there we go. The logo is now in, the image is now in my design. Formatting is still not that easy. You know, if we want to move this around or center it or something else, we still need to do CSS for that. So again, that'll be a different video, but that gets our image in. The last thing I want to do for this session is to show you how to make that image into a link, and it's really pretty simple. It's the same way we did the text. Just like we highlighted some text and told it where to go in the link box, we can highlight the image by clicking it, going down to the link option, and typing in the page we'd like it to go to. In this case, http://google.com. I'll also make sure I tell its target to go to underscore blank so that it knows where to go. And it's also worth noting here, it's not a good idea to do any sort of image resizing here in Dreamweaver. They give you the capabilities to do that. I can scale this and things like this. Notice it gets very pixelated very quick. It doesn't take long before it starts looking ugly. And it's just not the place for it. So I'm going to go back and hit the reset button here on the image scale so it doesn't actually scale. It goes back to its original size. If you need to scale an image, do it in Photoshop or do it in Illustrator. Don't do it here. A lot of people say, well, it's okay to make an image smaller, not larger. But with Dreamweaver, that's really not the case either. If I make this smaller, it does degrade a little bit still. But even more so than that, it takes a lot longer time to download a larger image. So this is truly a larger image. I'm just using code to scale it down. So if it's a larger image, it's going to take longer to load, and that's silly. That's not very efficient. If you want the image to be small, open it in Photoshop, make it small, save it, and bring it back into Dreamweaver. Okay, so do your image work in an image program. So I hope you were able to understand most of these basics. Dreamweaver is a great program for those that don't feel so confident in writing code. If you understand code but aren't a good writer at it, Dreamweaver is a great program. So hopefully this clears some things up. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.